My daughter had only been at university for a short while when she came home one day, grumbling that there was a girl in her class who kept copying everything about her. From skincare products and daily essentials to her handbag, everything was identical. A chill ran down my spine the moment I heard that. What kind of handbag? It was the custom piece I'd had specially commissioned from overseas just for her. The salesperson had sworn it was one of kind in the entire world, but clearly that was just empty advertising fluff. I frowned slightly. Every single item I'd prepared for my daughter before she started college had been chosen and bought by my own hands. That handbag was a special gift I'd given her on her first day of university, a truly exclusive custom order. A piece like that, from such a brand, could never be sold to anyone else. Yet that girl had been acting incredibly arrogant, loudly demanding to meet her classmate's mother, and claiming she knew me personally. I paused. Strange behaviors Chen Zihan had shown lately suddenly flashed through my mind. For some reason, a spark of anticipation rose in my chest. Oh, in that case, next time Mom visits you at school, I'll make some time to meet this little classmate of yours and see what she's like. My daughter had been fuming, but the instant she saw the eager look on my face, she fell completely silent. Mom, you're planning to stir up trouble for someone again, aren't you? I was a bit surprised and reached out to gently ruffle her hair. Baby, what are you talking about? Every time Mom gets that excited gleam in her eyes, someone is definitely about to have a bad time. I smiled faintly. As expected of the daughter I'd raised with my own hands for all these years, she truly understood me inside and out. Meeting Zheng Yao happened exactly 1 week later. Before heading over, I'd already had someone thoroughly investigate her and looked through several photos. However, seeing her in person still caught me slightly off guard. His taste wasn't bad at all. She had long black hair cascading over her shoulders, large round eyes, and a sweet, adorable face. When she smiled, dimples appeared, and her whole being radiated the fresh vitality of youth. My daughter hadn't exaggerated. The clothes this girl was wearing were indeed styled similarly to my daughter's, though her coordination was quite an eyesore. Her aesthetic clearly betrayed her background. After just a few glances, I had formed a basic judgment. Chen Zihan really knew how to pick them. A beautiful girl who was vain and inexperienced with the world like this could be easily bewitched. When she saw me, she froze for a split second before quickly regaining her composure and proactively speaking up. Mom, why don't you come sit at my place for a bit? My daughter was stunned, then immediately raised her voice. Who are you calling Mom? Do you always speak so rudely like this? I raised a hand to stop her. Moore, go back to the dorm first. Mom has a few private matters to discuss with your classmate. Though still angry, my daughter had always obeyed my decisions. Seeing my daughter humiliated, the girl in front of me curled her lips into a smug smile. So young, and she truly didn't know how to hide her emotions. I gave a faint, indifferent smile. It hasn't been easy for you, going through all this trouble just to meet me. Since that's the case, let's go. Lead the way, sweetie. A flash of surprise crossed her delicate features. She bit her lip lightly, then quickly walked ahead to guide me. I'd assumed she would take me to her dormitory, but instead she wound through several paths and finally stopped in front of a high-end residential complex. It was one of the city's luxury apartment areas, with unique architecture situated right beside the largest central lake. She walked in front with light, bouncy steps, a joyful smile on her face, occasionally turning her head to glance at me. The elevator went straight to the top floor. The apartment was decorated in an opulent style, and every piece of furniture inside exuded excellent taste, far more luxurious than the outfit she was currently wearing. It was obvious that Chen Zihan frequented this place often. The living room table was covered with gift boxes of various sizes. She smirked, her sweet face showing a hint of embarrassment. Sorry, Mom. The house is a bit messy, I haven't had time to clean up yet. I stood there with my arms crossed, silently watching her performance. It's all because of Zihan. He keeps buying things for me non-stop. My place is almost out of space. It's really embarrassing. I glanced at the gift boxes she'd casually opened. Inside were brand name items of mediocre value, the kind I wouldn't even spare a second glance at while walking by. It was honestly quite amusing. Chen Zihan had gone to such lengths putting on this show. Like a sparrow that had just perched on a high branch, and a frog that had just climbed to the mouth of a well. How could they ever have glimpsed the vastness of the sky? I had no interest in dwelling on it and took the initiative. When did you and Chen Zihan start? The girl clenched her hands tightly. In the blink of an eye, tears fell. It was as if a director had just shouted, "Action!" and she instantly stepped into her role. Mom, I didn't mean for this to happen. Zihan and I truly love each other. Please forgive me. Seeing that I remained completely unmoved, she suddenly collapsed onto the floor, clutching her stomach and sobbing loudly. Even if you hate me, you don't have to push me like that. I'm pregnant with Zihan's child. I raised an eyebrow slightly. Even here you're putting on a palace intrigue act. I paused, looking at her and asking, what did you just say? A flicker of triumph flashed in her eyes. I said I'm pregnant. Whose child? Of course it's his. Chen Zihan's. Upon hearing that, I was momentarily stunned. Then an indescribable joy welled up inside me, and the corners of my eyes sparkled with amusement. My voice unconsciously softened. You're pregnant. Then why are you still lying on the floor? Get up quickly. I reached out to help her stand, my face full of concern as I continued. How are you feeling? Any discomfort anywhere? Or should I take you to the hospital for a checkup? She was dazed by my reaction, her gaze unconsciously drifting toward the door. I immediately understood. Waiting for Chen Zihan to arrive, panic flashed across her face. Though she said nothing, everything was crystal clear. I had guessed correctly. Probably from the moment we met, she had already texted him. She was waiting for him to rush over, then stage a scene of being pushed down, looking pitiful and injured, so he could see how fragile, innocent, and wrong she was. Then Chen Zihan would appear at the perfect moment, playing the hero saving the beauty, taking her away from danger. After all the twists and turns, plus the child in her belly as leverage, he would logically drive me out of the house. This girl's schemes were too easy to see through. After all, she must have read too many romance novels. The only pity was that I understood Chen Zihan far too well. At this moment, he was probably scared out of his wits, and wouldn't dare show his face in front of me. But I had always been thorough. I reached out and pulled the voice recorder pen from her pocket, then smiled gently, lightly patting her hand with a sincere, advisory tone. Listen, sweetie, there's no need to play these tricks with me. Trust me. There's no one in this world who wants you to keep that child in your belly more than I do. She froze instantly. I looked her straight in the eyes. Don't believe me. I know my excitement right now seems a bit unusual. To reassure her, I took out my phone and called Chen Zihan, casually putting it on speaker. Darling, I'm at little Yao Yao's place right now. Do you want to come over and take a look? There was silence for a few seconds on the other end before a surprised voice sounded. Honey, I don't know anyone named Yao Yao. You must have the wrong person. The moment he spoke, I understood. He intended to deny everything completely. Whenever Chen Zihan did something wrong, he had the habit of pretending to be clueless. I wasn't too concerned. But the girl who had been so confident earlier now had a deathly pale face, as if the sky had collapsed around her. Her whole body trembled, seemingly unable to believe what she'd just heard. I gently patted her back. Don't be afraid. I'll stand on your side. Chen Zihan and I have been married for many years, and my words have always been kept. Perhaps little Yao Yao was just frightened earlier. Since she's pregnant, I'll take her to the hospital for a checkup first. Let's meet there. Goodbye. With that, I immediately hung up and called a few female assistants to prepare to take Zhang Yao to the hospital. Her face was filled with panic, looking at my assistants as if they were beasts. She desperately screamed, Tang Wei, I know you have no good intentions. I won't go anywhere with you. Zihan and I truly love each other. I signaled to the assistants, and they immediately restrained her arms. She could no longer struggle, and tears poured down. You two have no feelings left anymore. Zihan said you don't even have a marital life. What are you holding on to this man for? Do you know how suffocated he feels when he's with you? Only when he's with me does he feel truly alive as himself. Please let him go. My assistants showed no emotion, simply lowering their heads and carrying out their duties. I couldn't help but laugh. This girl wasn't innocent, she was genuinely foolish. Though a bit stupid, fortunately her belly was still useful. Right now, I desperately needed a child to break the current deadlock, preferably a son. So I summoned my rare patience and slowly explained to her. Listen, girl, it's not that I want to keep Chen Zihan. Why don't you ask around clearly? Chen Zihan is the son-in-law of the Tang family. Back then, he begged to marry into our family. I pointed to the items on the table. Everything he bought for you was paid for with my money. To put it simply, your real sponsor is me. She was completely stunned. The flood of information overwhelmed her small brain, leaving her unable to process it all. Talking to idiots is indeed a bit tiring. They have a hard time grasping the deeper meaning behind someone's words. In the end, I simply repeated it clearly. So you need to understand this well. Whatever I tell you to do, you do it. Take good care of the pregnancy, and I won't mistreat you. Finally, she seemed to lose all strength and will to resist, her body going limp. I took Zhang Yao to the city's most expensive private hospital and had her undergo a full comprehensive examination. An hour later, Chen Zihan finally rushed over in a hurry. He was panting, still wearing his expensive suit, but his protruding belly couldn't be hidden. His hair was thinning more and more, the hairline receding, and his skin beginning to sag. It was hard to connect the man before me with the dashing young man from 20 years ago. Back then, he wore a white shirt, tall and slender, always looking at me with a gentle smile. He said he would stay by my side for life, that he would love me forever. He even swore that if he ever changed his heart, he would meet with disaster on the roads. From a young age, I had understood that men's words of love were no different from unsigned checks. They sounded beautiful, but they might not be worth anything. I knew he was lying, but in front of such a handsome young man, even deceitful words sounded pleasant. Time truly was too short for men. On the surface, I remained calm and greeted him lightly. "You're late." The calmer I appeared, the more panicked Chen Zihan became. They say men find it hard to bow their heads, but he didn't seem to care about that at all. Without hesitation, he knelt before me, swearing repeatedly, "Wei, I swear I'll never do anything like this again. Please forgive me this once. I promise I'll cut ties with her completely, and have no further contact from now on." Chen Zihan had always been skilled at enduring humiliation. Otherwise, he couldn't have made up his mind to become the Tang family's son-in-law back then. Even though he was the only son of the Bu family, I quickly reached out to help him up. "What are you doing? Get up quickly, let's talk properly." Wiping his tears and snot, he stood and began apologizing to me nonstop. He said he was wrong, that he'd let me down, let our daughter down, and even let himself down. I cut him off and took his hand. "Chen Zihan, you are indeed at fault, but the one who should apologize the most is actually me." He froze, his nose still unwiped, only able to stare at me in shock. He probably never expected someone as decisive as me to admit my own mistakes. Confusion was evident in his eyes. He seemed completely unsure how to respond. I poured every ounce of acting skill from my life into this, gazing at him tenderly. "We've been married for over 20 years, yet I still haven't given you a son. This is my fault. I know you've been under immense pressure. There are so many voices outside, but I understand that we truly love each other. You've suffered so much all these years. As for Yao, she's a pure girl. When the baby is born, you can bring him home." I lowered my voice, my words carrying hidden implications. "Our family needs a son too. Don't you think so?" After hearing me, Chen Zihan momentarily couldn't believe his ears, but thinking about how we'd gone so many years without a son, his back unconsciously straightened. In Chen Zihan's eyes, and in the eyes of everyone else, I truly needed a son very badly. "My name is Tang Wei. The Tang family in this city is an ancient clan with generations tied to the furniture industry. The family relationships are extremely complex, and the clan traditions are incredibly strict. Even though society has entered a new era, in City A, our family still holds ancestral hall repairs, ancestor worship, and family head ceremonies without interruption every year. The large family, with assets passed down through generations, are all inherited by the males. This was also what gave Chen Zihan the most confidence. I had only given birth to a daughter, so the shares in my name would be reclaimed by the clan upon my death. Our family had always placed special importance on sons, leading to completely different upbringing methods. The boys had been given high expectations from childhood, with the family providing them the best resources. Upon reaching adulthood, they were sent abroad to study business, absorbing both Eastern and Western knowledge, before returning to take over the family business. The names of the sons in the family all carried meanings, deeply rooted in the furniture industry, ensuring the clan's solid existence for centuries. For example, my uncle is Tang Zong, my cousins are Tang Yefeng and Tang Lin, while the daughters were mostly raised more gently. From young, they were taught posture maintenance, jawline refinement, then skincare, appearance care, and figure training. Upon reaching marriageable age, the family would find them a suitable match. The girls' names all carried water elements, symbolizing gentleness and softness. My mother was Tang Yaliu, my aunt was Ling Yin, and my original name was Ling Shui. This gender-differentiated upbringing custom had been passed down for many generations, existing in the city for hundreds of years. It wasn't until my mother appeared that things began to change slightly. My grandfather was the previous family head of the Tangs, but only had one son and 3 daughters. Compared to other branches with 7 or 8 children, Our line was truly too thin. According to clan rules, the Tang family head position should have gone to my uncle. But my uncle was born with a congenital heart condition, making him unsuitable for managing business. Not long after he took over family affairs, he caused a major issue that offended an important supplier at the time. The Tang family had no choice but to marry off a daughter from the clan to appease the situation, but the family's business continued to decline. The uncles and elders in the clan began applying pressure, forcing my grandfather to choose someone else as head. With no other options, my grandfather sought out a renowned local monk known for fortune telling. The master only left one sentence: heaven's mandate returns to the female. Though my grandfather still had doubts, under the pressure of the entire clan, he ultimately decided to take the risk and bet on my mother. Although my mother was female, she possessed extraordinary talent, and eventually succeeded in becoming the representative family head of the Tangs. She didn't disappoint anyone. During the reform and opening up years, she single-handedly elevated the Tang furniture brand to nationwide fame. By the beginning of this century, Tang Corporation successfully went public. My mother gradually moved closer to the center of family power, nearly changing the history of the Tang clan. But then she suddenly passed away 20 years ago. From then on, our glory became nothing more than a fleeting memory. Less than 3 months after my mother's death, the aunts and relatives who had once smiled warmly at us suddenly changed their attitudes. My sister was even forced into a political marriage. It was exactly as the saying goes, people's hearts are thinner than paper. From then on, we completely declined. 20 years ago, I exhausted every means to recruit a son-in-law to retain the shares my mother left behind, but I couldn't give birth to a son. According to the agreement with the clan, upon my death, my shares would be reclaimed. How could I accept that willingly? So over the years, I gradually expanded my influence, gaining some voice in the family. After enduring silently for 20 years, today I have finally waited for an opportunity to turn the tables. Although Chen Zihan isn't very useful, he brought me a lucky treasure like Zhang Yao, so he has some value after all. When my daughter returned from school and entered the house, she immediately asked furiously, "Mom, is that Zhang Yao girl pregnant with Dad's child?" Clack. I set my teacup down firmly on the table. Muir, after all the rules I've taught you over the years, what exactly have you learned? Seemingly unaware of my anger, she continued complaining. "Mom, you don't know. That girl isn't just interested in Dad. At school, she's also seducing Mo Cheng. Mo Cheng is mine. Even if I don't want him, it's not her turn." I was extremely disappointed. I stood up and slapped her across the face. "Muir, you've truly left me speechless." I rarely got angry. My daughter clutched her cheek, looking at me in bewilderment. I spoke coldly in rebuke. "What's there to be proud of in competing with other women for a man? If you truly have capability, go compete with men for resources. Look at your cousins. They're not as smart as you, nor as capable, but they're all involved in the family business. And what about you, lowering yourself in these petty struggles? Are you really willing to become nothing more than a decorative flower who casually marries off like your aunts?" My daughter was so frightened by me that she didn't dare speak. I couldn't be blamed for losing my composure. I had poured too much effort into her. While other families' daughters only focused on appearance and figure, I had taught her emotional control and trained her in all kinds of skills. I raised her to be independent and capable of solving problems herself. Yet now, over a trivial romantic matter, she had lost self-control. My daughter stepped in front of me and sincerely apologized. "Mom, I was wrong. I just couldn't accept it. Please don't be angry anymore." At this point, her voice choked. "If I have to marry like my aunts in the future, I'd rather die." I sighed softly. After all, she was my only daughter. The aunts she mentioned referred to my sister. Back then, she had been married off by the family like merchandise. That man was a supplier for Tang furniture. He met my sister at a banquet and fell for her at first sight. To quell the troubles at the time, my grandfather didn't hesitate to marry her off. The man was nearly 50 then, while my sister was only 21. The other aunt she mentioned was my cousin, the second daughter of my uncle. My uncle personally arranged her marriage, wedding her to the youngest son of another prominent family. The wedding was extremely grand, nearly shaking the entire city. But after marriage, she discovered that her frail-looking husband harbored cruel fetishes. In the end, she died under her husband's whip. A flower that hadn't even fully bloomed was crushed silently into the mud. No newspaper dared to report it. It was as if that young girl had never existed in this world. That wasn't just the fate of the Tang family daughters, but the shadow over countless girls born into the great clans of City A. If fortunate, after marriage they would peacefully manage the household and raise children. If unfortunate, their lives would sink into misery, even leaving this world prematurely. For those unfortunate girls, those around them would simply sum it up in one sentence: her fate wasn't good. But looking across thousands of years, women's destinies had never been easy. From my mother to me, then to my daughter, 3 generations over 50 years, and even now many still cannot escape their predetermined fates. I understood better than anyone that in this vast clan, what the Tang family daughters lacked wasn't love, but resources, power, respect, and freedom. I reached out and gently stroked my daughter's cheek, asking softly, "Does it hurt?" Tears rolled down her face, but she shook her head. "It doesn't hurt. I know Mom did it for my own good." My daughter had been very sensible since childhood. I disciplined her strictly, and she always tried her best. From young to now, she had been an outstanding student and never caused me worry. As for Mo Chang, whom she mentioned, he was a poor student I sponsored. At the same time, he was the son-in-law candidate I had chosen. That was the final step in my backup plan. My daughter's anger wasn't truly because she had feelings for Mo Chang, it was just her pride that made her unwilling to accept it. "Mum, I also want to work at the company. It's just because I'm a daughter that I can't study business abroad. If only I were a son, how great that would be." I shook my head gently. "What's the difference between a son and a daughter? Just tell Mom. Do you want to study abroad?" Her eyes immediately lit up. "Of course I do. I've already chosen a very suitable school and researched their teaching methods hundreds of times." Then she looked at me hesitantly. "But is it really possible? The Tang family has never allowed a girl to study abroad before. It wasn't possible before, but with Mom here, it will be." She cried out in joy and threw herself into my arms. "Thank you, Mom." I gently patted her back, my heart filled with affection. My daughter was crying and laughing at the same time, still not fully calmed when Chen Zihan's voice came from behind. "Muir is back. Why are you crying like this?" My daughter stood up, glanced at me, then wiped her tears. I said calmly, "It's nothing. She was just being naughty for a bit. Go back to school first. Mom and Dad still have things to discuss." My daughter and Chen Zihan had never been close. Children are very sensitive, they know clearly who truly loves them. Chen Zihan always pretended to care on the surface, but I knew deep down he resented Muir, because she was a daughter. Just like now, the moment my daughter left, he didn't ask a single extra question, not even bothering with basic courtesy. In the past, he would at least pretend to inquire a little, but I understood, now that he was about to have a son, he was brimming with confidence, as if he'd been reborn. I had hired a dedicated caregiver for Zhang Yao, someone to handle her meals and daily needs, with extra attention especially during the first 3 months. I smiled generously, of course. Her health must be taken care of meticulously. Chen Zihan grasped my hand, a rare look of genuine emotion flickering in his eyes. "Honey, I never expected you to be this magnanimous. Being by your side is truly my blessing." I smiled faintly and offered no comment on his words. Chen Zihan really was a lucky man. By marrying into our family, he had risen from a penniless country boy to a man of status in City A. Right now he managed a mid-sized subsidiary company, enough money and position to feel important. Ever since stepping into the company, he had begun helping his rural relatives one after another. Anyone even remotely related, no matter how distant, received his support. My daughter once joked that even the dog at the gate of his family home in the countryside had benefited. I had seen all of it but never intervened too much. I once believed he would know when to stop. Little did I know my tolerance only made him increasingly arrogant. Not only did he cheat, but he completely forgot the oaths he made all those years ago. Standing before me now, he no longer even bothered to maintain appearances. "Honey, I love you, but I'm a man. I need a son to carry on the family line. Before my mother passed, her final wish was for me to have descendants. I never told you any of this, I bore it all myself. But sacrificing like this forever, I'm truly exhausted." He spoke with absolute conviction, as if his infidelity were completely unavoidable. As if every mistake stemmed from me, because I had failed to give him a son. Listening to him, I could only shake my head inwardly. It seemed our worldviews were simply too far apart. Carry on the family line, what was his mother worried about? Even if I had given birth to a son, that child would never bear the Bu surname. The moment he chose to marry into our family, the Bu line had effectively ended. If anyone was continuing the lineage, it was continuing mine. But to smoothly advance my future plans, I thought one thing and said another. "I know you've endured a lot, So next month I plan to bring Yao into the ancestral hall for the ancestor worship ceremony. He hesitated briefly. If we bring her to the ancestral rites, won't everyone find out? I looked at him with an expression as if I had heard something absurd. Shen Zihan, have you lost your mind? I already had a fortune, tell her read her fate. The child in Yao's belly is a boy. According to clan rules, only a son is qualified to inherit the assets. His lips moved a few times, eyes fixed on me. The initial hesitation vanished instantly, replaced by joy he could barely conceal. Although the shares I held weren't numerous, the Tang family's enterprises spanned many industries. Added together, it was still an enormous fortune, one that could never be spent in a lifetime. How could Chen Zihan not be tempted? Honey, you really agree? I really do. I kept acting, my emotions flowing more and more naturally. Of course I agree. Once Yao gives birth, we'll bring the child home to raise. Your child is also my child. The future prosperity of our family will all depend on him. He was so moved that his eyes reddened. Honey, I'll listen to whatever you say. July was the time for the Tang family's annual clan gathering. Calling it a gathering was generous. It was really a fundraising event, the main purpose being to collect money for repairing the ancestral hall. Quite ironic, when you thought about it. The inherited family fortune excluded women entirely. Yet when it came time to donate funds for building the ancestral hall, even the married-out daughters had to contribute as usual. That was why this year's turnout was exceptionally large. 7 aunts, 8 cousins, relatives near and far all assembled. No matter what their lives were like outside, once seated at the table, everyone had to observe proper etiquette, exchanging greetings and polite inquiries. After a few rounds of wine, the atmosphere at the table grew lively. People began flattering one another. One boasted about his son returning from abroad, and which department he now worked in at the company. Another described how well his daughter had secured a marriage alliance. My cousin, who had always been at odds with me, quickly steered the conversation my way. I really envy you, Wei. You only have one child, unlike me. I'm busy worrying about the household affairs endlessly. My cousin had given birth to 2 sons and 1 daughter after marriage and loved to show off her 2 boys' bright futures. Today's remark was clearly meant to mock me. Before I could speak, my sister Ling Yin answered coldly. Why don't you envy your eldest sister instead? She died young and no longer has to worry about anything. The moment the words left her mouth, the entire table fell deathly silent. The eldest sister, my cousin had mentioned, was my uncle's oldest daughter, the one who died under her husband's whip. Enough. My uncle had long forbidden anyone in the family from mentioning that incident. Sure enough, he, who had been indifferently watching us bicker, slammed his chopsticks down hard. If you're eating, then eat. Why spout so much nonsense? The corners of my lips curved into a cold smile. Those who had never tasted the whip would never understand how much it hurt. The rest of the meal sank into an unnaturally quiet atmosphere, until someone else spoke up to break the silence. Come on, everyone, don't sit there like statues. Let me tell a funny story. A few days ago I ran into my brother-in-law at the hospital. I saw him escorting a young woman into the obstetrics department. At the time I thought it was Wei, but today I see Wei's hair isn't that long at all. Ha! The speaker was a rather distant female cousin. As soon as she finished, everyone at the table continued eating and picking up food as usual, yet their eyes secretly darted toward me and Chen Zihan, waiting for our reaction. He was visibly trembling. The man had always been timid. I had never placed high hopes on him anyway. My sister glanced at me worriedly. I lightly patted her hand under the table, set down my chopsticks, and smiled at everyone. What a coincidence. Little sister actually ran into them. Not running into them would have been strange. Her husband is the director of that hospital, famously known for his romantic affairs. She frequently visits for check-ups. Her running into my husband was actually part of my plan from the start. Since we're all here today, I'd also like to announce something to everyone. Our family is about to welcome a new member. I signaled for him to bring our guest in. Under everyone's astonished gazes, he took Jiang Yao's hand and slowly led her into the room. I introduced her calmly. The girl my cousin mentioned is likely Yao here, and the child she is carrying is his. I already asked the doctor, it's a boy. Once the baby is born I will adopt him as my own. The entire room erupted into chaos. My cousin Tang Lifeng was the first to speak. Tang Wei, have you gone mad? That child won't even be Tang blood. If you want to keep your position, you can't treat everyone like fools. Several elderly aunts hurriedly tried to dissuade me. That's right, little Shui, you can't joke about this. Little Shui. It had been a very long time since anyone called me by that name. I pretended to look confused. If he isn't Tang blood, does that mean he can't enter the Tang family register? My cousin, who had just been provoked by my sister, seized the opportunity. Does that even need asking? Someone who isn't family wants us to acknowledge them. Are you dreaming? I had been waiting for exactly those words. I dropped the bewildered look, replaced it with wide-eyed astonishment, and raised my voice. What are you all saying? The person with absolutely no blood relation to our Tang family has his memorial tablet placed in the highest position in the Tang ancestral hall. By speaking like this, aren't you insulting our ancestors? The moment I finished, the whole room went silent. Everyone stared at me, trying to comprehend what I was implying. The younger ones hadn't fully grasped it yet, but the elders' faces had already changed color. My uncle was the first to react. The prayer beads he had been fingering tightened into a fist. I curled my lips slightly. As expected, he had taken the bait. Our Tang family rose to prominence at the beginning of the last century. The first patriarch, Tang Huai, was a eunuch who fled the imperial palace. He carried gold, silver, and treasures out of the capital, and came to City A to build his empire. The second patriarch, my great-grandfather, was actually an adopted son he had taken in. When it came to bloodlines, other families might have a point, but when discussing bloodlines in front of the Tang ancestors, they couldn't blame me for digging up the secrets everyone tried so hard to hide. Dirty laundry had to be aired in the sun sooner or later for everyone to see clearly. The banquet finally ended in an icy atmosphere. Tang Zong kept me behind in the ancestral hall along with several senior elders. Judging by their expressions, they intended to hold an interrogation right here. In recent years he had begun believing in Buddhism, always presenting a benevolent face to outsiders and opening his mouth with pretentious moral advice. Little Shui, everyone has their own destiny in life. Every hardship has its reason. What doesn't belong to you, no matter how hard you fight for it, will be useless. I laughed. Uncle, why can't I fight for it? 20 years ago I fought once. And didn't I win that time? His hand clenched the prayer beads tighter. I glanced at the beads in his hand, my lips curving into a mocking smile. People who turn to Buddha only after walking a crooked path usually do so, because their hearts are haunted by ghosts and they need divine protection. 20 years ago, my mother's death had been far too strange. Before she passed, she left behind a puzzling will. The assets and cash in her name were split equally between me and my sister, but all the company's shares were transferred to my uncle. The will also clearly stated that this share transfer was an oral agreement between her and my grandfather. At the time she had only temporarily taken the family head position. Once the company stabilized, she would hand over management. Anyone looking at such a will would see problems. Yet after the authorities verified it, the result confirmed it was authentic. The clan elders immediately changed their tune, praising my mother for her great righteousness in placing the family's interests above all. Only my sister and I couldn't believe it. Because ever since I came of age, mother had begun teaching me the business, grooming me step by step to take over the family affairs. She could never have left a will like that. Yet I had examined that will countless times. The signature at the end was undeniably my mother's handwriting. Before I could investigate thoroughly, Tang Zong, as the new family head, ordered my sister to break up with her boyfriend at the time and marry into the He family for an alliance. Everything happened too fast, we were caught completely off guard. My sister and her lover tried to elope 3 times, only to be dragged back each time. Both the Tang and He families held deep influence in the city. The two of them had nowhere to run. The final attempt was on New Year's Eve. My sister's boyfriend voluntarily revealed their location to the He family. He gave up. He chose compromise. He was afraid. And my sister's heart died with him. After being brought back, she fell ill for 3 straight days. High fever that wouldn't break, drifting in and out of consciousness, crying one moment and silent the next. In her delirium she kept calling, "Mom, Mom, save me." It felt as if someone were whipping my heart. In a single night, more than half my father's hair turned white. After mother's death, the last bit of spirit he had forced himself to maintain completely collapsed. My father came from an ordinary family, nothing more than a simple high school teacher. All his life he had quietly stood behind mother, supporting her as she built the empire. That night was New Year's Eve. I walked amid the sound of New Year bells, snow blanketing the ground beneath my feet. That winter, the 3 most important people in my life, one had already left, and the other 2 were covered in wounds, each clinging to half a soul just to keep living. The road ahead was treacherous and unpredictable. I could see no path. I lifted my head to the sky full of falling snow and prayed silently in my heart. Mother, it's my fault. I failed to protect our family. If you are watching from above, please tell me what I should do. The cold wind brushed past my ears, silent as if offering no answer. I could only watch with open eyes as my sister stepped into the wedding car. The wedding was held with extreme grandeur, an outdoor ceremony, exactly the kind my sister had once loved most. The only pity was that the man standing beside her was not the one she loved. My sister stood on the stage, forcing a smile, yet her gaze kept drifting to our father's back, which had already begun to stoop. I turned away, tears falling like beads. That day I sat inside a small lounge until nightfall, a wave of helplessness flooding my chest like a rising tide. In my days, I heard someone scolding a child. Copy this test paper. 1 page written by yourself, 1 page copied from someone else. Do you think the handwriting on the first page can fool anyone? If you rely on others for high school entrance exams and college entrance exams, what then? I had planned to stand up and leave for a quieter spot, but those words kept repeating in my mind. Copied from someone else. In that instant, a spark of light flashed in my head. The strange will, my mother's signature, the illogical content, everything suddenly linked into a chain. My mind buzzed. I bolted upright. The signature on the will was real. That meant my mother had confirmed the content of the second page. The will had 2 pages. The second page contained the division of assets and real estate, bearing my mother's signature. But on the first page, the share transfer section, there was no signature from her, only a fingerprint. Could it be? The first page had been swapped. Someone had taken advantage of my mother on her deathbed, forcing her to press her fingerprint onto an altered document. The first page was fake, the second was real. Both pages carried her fingerprint, and the end had her real signature. Thus a perfect will had been created. A forged will with no detectable flaws. Thinking of this, my fingers couldn't help but tremble. A scheme this meticulous could never have been formed overnight. My mother's death was probably no accident either. The person who benefited the most from all of this was none other than Tang Zong. He must have killed my mother. I clutched my hair tightly but still couldn't find evidence. Evidence. Right then, a bold idea suddenly flashed through my mind. My sister's wedding that day had been attended by many prominent figures and media reporters. When the banquet reached its climax, I stood before all the guests and demanded a re-examination of the handwriting. Tang Zong, who always maintained a gentle image in public, couldn't restrain his anger. Little Shui, I already had it verified. There can be no mistake. In front of everyone, I calmly replied, Uncle, I've troubled you. I only want peace of mind. Camera flashes exploded like fireworks. After saying that, I immediately burst into tears. My sister didn't know the full story but still chose to stand by my side. Thus, in front of the reporters and numerous guests, Tang Zong finally had no choice but to reluctantly agree. Yet he remained very calm because he believed that no matter how many times I had it examined, the result would never change. In his mind, victory was already secured. After receiving the will, I immediately went to the specialized agency. But this time I didn't request handwriting verification. I requested verification of the ink and paper formation time. If the 2 pages weren't from the same production batch, if the writing wasn't formed at the same time, if they weren't printed from the same machine, then it could be confirmed that the will had been forged. Less than half a day later, I received the results. Exactly as I had predicted, the writing on the first page was formed later, and the paper wasn't from the same batch. The first page was 80-gram paper, while the second was 70-gram. I hid this result from everyone and used it to negotiate with Tang Zong. At that time the Tang family was in turmoil. My mother's strange death had sparked rumors everywhere. Moreover, Tang Zong's ability was insufficient to win everyone's sincere respect. Quite a few within the clan were already dissatisfied with him. Not to mention that my sister had just married into the He family, whose deep influence in the city made him wary, so in the end he accepted my conditions. In that situation, stabilizing me first was the most rational choice for him. 20 years ago, on the exact day my sister returned home for the post-wedding visit, I unilaterally announced the cancellation of my 3-year engagement to my former fiancé. I changed my name from Ling Shui to Tang Wei. I recruited a son-in-law, officially took over half the shares my mother left, and stepped into the family company. The news was like a stone dropped into a still lake, instantly stirring countless ripples. All eyes turned toward my uncle. Tang Zong's face darkened, but he still had to nod in agreement. My sister cried until she was nearly exhausted, scolding me for being crazy. She said I had the chance to spend my life with the person I loved yet didn't cherish it. She hugged me, sobbing uncontrollably. I held her and gently patted her back, as if soothing the shattered pain in her heart. I whispered in her ear, "Sister, I'm not willing to accept it. I want to try one time." She kept shaking her head, her voice hoarse from crying. "You can't win. You can't win. Ah Shui, can we please stop fighting?" I only quietly stroked her trembling shoulders. "Mother is gone. I will carry this family." She stared at me, lips quivering for a long time, then suddenly raised her hand and slapped herself across the face. Crying, she said, "It's my fault for being useless. It's my fault for being useless." I quickly grabbed her hand and pulled her into my arms, soothing her like a child. It's not your fault. I don't blame you. How could I ever blame you? In this man-eating clan, simply surviving is already not easy." I imitated the way she used to comfort me when I was little and softly sang the children's rhyme from our hometown. Little wild geese line up in a row, a tiny sister trailing at the back. Big sister goose, please fly slower. Little sister goose, hurry and catch up. If we hold hands and fly together, no one will be left behind. 20 years ago, I bravely fought once, and that time, I won. I successfully entered the company. Over the past 20 years, I had gradually planted my own people in every branch, secretly building my forces, reclaiming bit by bit everything that should have been mine. Until today, I finally had enough standing to be here once more. Right now, what I held in my hands was far more than 20 years ago. Before the clan elders, Tang Zong flatly refused. "Little Shui, your request cannot be accepted." I slowly corrected him. "Uncle, you seem to have forgotten again. I am no longer Ling Shui, I am Tang Wei." Tang Zong was so furious his beard nearly stood on end. He was 68 this year. With his frail body since childhood, living to this age was already a long time. My mother had been so healthy yet died young, yet this man, born weak, had lived nearly 70 years. Villains live long while good people meet early ends. What a bitter irony. You can pull strings in the company, I can overlook that. But when it comes to the clan's bloodline succession, it is not your place to cause trouble. You can't give birth to a son yourself yet try to steal someone else's child. What kind of behavior is that? We absolutely will not agree. I slowly raised my eyelids and looked at him calmly. "Uncle." Words as harsh as those should have been said 20 years ago. The elders immediately began murmuring among themselves. An elderly distant uncle turned and scolded my uncle. "I won. 20 years ago, you should never have agreed to let her recruit a son-in-law. Now it's clear. She wants to climb on your head." I seized the chance to add fuel. "Exactly. This is truly my uncle's fault. Everyone, tell me, why did he agree to let me recruit a son-in-law 20 years ago?" The spearhead instantly swung back toward Tang Zong. The atmosphere in the ancestral hall grew as tense as a taut string. At the perfect moment I signaled someone. A moment later, an elder stood up to mediate. "Arguing like this now is pointless. Everyone has seen little Jiao's contributions to the company these past years. We can't pretend they don't exist." He turned to me, his tone carrying a hint of reproach. "But this time, little Jiao, you have truly gone too far. Shen Zaihan did something improper. Why did you allow him to bring that outside woman home? I've looked into it. That girl is even Muir's classmate. If you adopt her child, what will Muir think?" He gave each side a tap. On the surface it looked perfectly fair. After thinking for a moment he continued, "How about this? Each side yields a step. Allow Muir to be entered into the family register. Though she is a daughter, she is still a descendant of the Tang family." The moment he finished, the entire room fell silent. Then came a chorus of opposition. "No. That would break ancestral rules. We already broke precedent once 20 years ago. Now you want to break it again." But several elders also spoke up in my favor. People who would risk anything for money, birds that would fly into traps for bait. After all, I had given them plenty of benefits over the years. Hiemph. When year-end dividends are distributed, you happily take money from little Gio's company, but never say women should follow rules. Your nephew caused a car accident last year that made a huge scene. Didn't little Jiao finally step in to settle it? You enjoy the benefits then turn around and wash your hands of it. How shrewd. In the end neither side could reach complete agreement, so each had to compromise a step. Conveniently, the result landed exactly where I wanted. My daughter Muir would be entered into the family register, and next year she would study abroad with a group of boys from the clan. The corners of my lips curved upward, secretly pleased. Ask for the stars, settle for the moon. When you want to open a window and no one agrees, smash the entire roof, then they will gladly let you open that window. Looking at Tang Zong's ugly expression, I nearly laughed. The unhappier he was, the lighter I felt. I wanted to tear a hole in this wall, so all the Tang family daughters could see it. Fight. As long as you dare to fight and persist, they will have no choice but to yield eventually. Bloodline succession rules. In the end, in this world, the capable are the ones who call the shots. The group filed out of the ancestral hall. My sister and daughter were waiting outside. Several elders smiled and said to my daughter, "Muir, your mother has worked so hard for you. She's already arranged for you to study abroad by the end of the year." My daughter's eyes lit up instantly. She smiled and stepped forward to support the elders. "It's all thanks to uncles and aunts for helping. Third uncle, sixth uncle, let me walk you to the car. I've already told the driver to wait and send you home." "No need, Muir, we have our own drivers. Please don't refuse. There are some local specialties in the car that Mom prepared for all of you. Just small tokens of appreciation. I hope you'll accept them." The elders thought for a moment, then nodded. "Thank your mother for us." Watching the elders happily get into the cars and leave, my sister smiled softly. "You've raised Muir very well. She's worthy of all the effort you've poured in." I gripped my sister's hand tightly, my face showing a gravity that was rare for me. "Sister, I only have one daughter. If anything happens to me in the future, Muir will have only you left." My sister was stunned. "What are you saying? Haven't we already settled everything? Muir has been entered into the family register and can inherit your shares later." I looked at her and spoke slowly. "Inherit my shares. Study abroad, step properly into the company, then find a son-in-law just like I did and struggle to prop up the next generation." I shook my head gently. "I don't want her walking the same thorny road I've walked." My sister stared at me in bewilderment. "Then what do you intend to do?" I gazed at the solemn ancestral hall ahead. "I want to flip this entire chessboard over. I want the rules that Tang family daughters cannot enter the family register, have no inheritance rights, to be completely abolished, so every girl can hold her head high, pursue whatever field she loves, and do what she truly wants." My sister drew in a deep breath. My sister had been exceptionally gifted in painting since she was small. When she was only 8, a renowned national master had already taken her as his disciple. That cousin I never got along with possessed a soft, graceful figure and was very beautiful. She once wanted to follow the path of art, but was denounced by the clan for showing off and damaging the family's reputation. Our family had many talented girls, yet every one of them was shackled by meaningless prejudices, packaged off into marriage before they could ever display their gifts. I knew this road would be brutally difficult, but I still wanted to walk it, just like my mother had done all those years ago. "Abolish this rule," I instructed my sister. "If I win, Muir won't even need to study abroad anymore. I will personally cancel the requirement that only an overseas degree allows entry into the company. If I lose, please take her abroad first to ride out the storm. Once she obtains her degree, she can return. What I leave behind will be enough for her to rebuild everything from zero." Mo Chang has no background and no ambitions. Moreover, I hold his weaknesses in my grasp, so he is easy to control. Though he's a bit foolish, right now he remains the most suitable choice. I paused. "It's just that Muir will have to endure some injustice." My sister hesitated. "Or perhaps." I shook my head. "The arrow has already left the bow. There is no turning back. Everything I did today is the declaration of war I have sent out. I cannot wait any longer. This year I am 45, the most radiant stage of a woman's life. I have experience, I have connections, and I have perfect timing. I want to try once. If I lose, when I go down to meet Mother, I will have no shame before her. If I win, history will be completely rewritten. From any angle, Tang Wei will never regret it." Once I had given every instruction, I returned home. Chen Zihan had been waiting at the house, so anxious he had nearly torn his hair out. The moment he heard Muir had been entered into the family register, he exploded in fury. "You said you would bring Yao home to acknowledge the clan. Why did you end up entering Muir instead? She's only a daughter. What use is putting her in the register? After she graduates university, just marry her off and be done with it. Why waste so much effort?" I looked at him coldly. At last he had spoken the true thoughts in his heart. He was so agitated he nearly leaped up. I calmly reassured him. Everything must be done step by step. Allowing Muir into the register was merely one concession. Once the baby is born and we adopt him as my son, they will gradually relax their guard. I lifted the hot teacup from the table, took a small sip, and regarded him. "Or do you not trust me? Dia Theo Ang Tin Tenan K Chindi Fen Trakersi Gim Le Pitinan, Xia Qingyi tipi chi ti chibianimation beam agn dimntku manan lich excess alipinon pin beam in via gi trong on vinin jipasidin day tin shen zi han Bivil pilipin pin sidikfin trong gurekti ani kin the pip cbff ddav opade siamanatis. Chen Zihan softened the instant he heard those words. Honey, I didn't mean it that way. I'm just afraid something will go wrong. Nothing will go wrong. I answered serenely. The most important task for you right now is to watch over Yao. She is extremely important to us. You must care for her and soothe her emotions well. He nodded hastily, then rushed out. Watching his departing back, my gaze turned colder by the second. Less than a month later, Tang Zong began to strike. The projects my husband oversaw in the company ran into trouble one after another. Headquarters dispatched several senior executives under the pretext of inspection, but in truth, they were secretly coordinating to isolate him. He was so busy he spun like a top. Every day when he came home, he complained without end. I used a few firm measures to temporarily suppress the matter, but within days, the news that he had entangled himself with a female student and gotten her pregnant suddenly spread everywhere. The next day, the story hit the front page of the local paper, setting the entire city abuzz. The papers even deliberately chose mocking headlines, dubbing him the city's most infamous freeloader. Trapped at home, he was red-faced with rage, able only to vent useless fury. Someone must be targeting me. Someone wants to ruin me. I proactively opened an escape route for him. Darling, why don't you go out and lie low for a while? The man had no real ability, yet he had never once admitted his own incompetence. Now that I was actively suggesting he leave temporarily, it was like handing a pillow to a drowsy man. Inwardly he was overjoyed, but outwardly he still pretended to be honorable. I can't do that. Leaving you alone to deal with this mess would make me feel truly guilty. Between family, such words sound too distant. He smiled with satisfaction and bent down to kiss my forehead lightly. Fine, honey. Once things settle, whatever you ask me to do, I will do it. I smiled and lifted my hand to cradle his wrinkled face, my voice unusually gentle. Anything at all. If I told you to die for me, would you be willing? He froze for a split second, then still nodded and promised me, of course I am willing. That was the sweetest sentence I had heard from him in all these years. I said cheerfully, that's wonderful, my dear husband. With those words from you, I can finally rest easy. I took his hand and straightened his collar. Leave today. Go. The car I arranged for the airport will be safer. The reporters have already memorized your usual car by now. After thinking a moment I added, to be extra safe, wear my coat. That way no one will suspect a thing. He looked delighted. Yes, I'll be back soon. Take care of Yao for me. Rest assured. I will definitely look after her meticulously. After all, the child in her belly belongs to our family. Then I'm off, my beloved. Go on. He put on my coat, pulled a hat low over his face, and walked out of the house step by step. Walking step by step out of my life as well. Chen Zihan was dead. It was a chain reaction accident caused by an exhausted truck driver. The police ruled it an unforeseen mishap. Tang Zong had spent years cultivating connections everywhere. His roots ran deep and thick. For him, making something happen without anyone knowing was hardly difficult. If someone had not warned me in time, the one who died that day would have been me. The media floated countless theories about Chen Zihan's death. The loudest rumor claimed he had fled to escape his crimes and thus met his demise. The very next day, several branch directors resigned simultaneously. The company accountant even went to the police of his own accord, handing over solid evidence that my late husband had falsified the books and evaded taxes. The clan elders ordered me to provide a satisfactory explanation within 3 days. Amid the chaos, Tang Zong sent me a message. Pull back in time, and I'll leave you a path to survive. How laughable. What path to survive? Wasn't it simply because he couldn't kill me that he spoke as if bestowing mercy? But my life was not something he could take whenever he wished. I had not yet cleared the injustice for my poor mother. How could I dare die before him? The atmosphere grew tighter by the day. Some elders who had once associated with me saw the situation turning sour and immediately switched sides. The rest secretly came to sound me out, probing what exactly I still held in my hands. My daughter was so furious she could no longer restrain herself. We've given them so many benefits before, yet they flip sides the moment trouble appears. Truly a pack of white-eyed wolves. I looked at her silently, still keeping my calm composure, because I understood the people of this clan far too well. Anyone with even a shred of status in the family was a master of calculation. They stood straddling the fence like grass growing along a wall, bending whichever way the wind blew, simply waiting to see who could truly rise. I said softly to my daughter, "More, think about it, in this world there are no eternal friends, only eternal interests." She answered angrily, "I know that. It's just disgusting to see people change hearts so quickly. People like them aren't worth cooperating with." I shook my head. "You're wrong. Precisely, people like them are the easiest to cooperate with. As long as you are strong enough and hold their weaknesses, they will have no path to turn back. They are loyal only to benefits." My daughter fell silent for a moment, then nodded lightly, her face thoughtful. I continued, "Don't worry. Very soon we will strike back." Afterward, I instructed my assistant to release the news that I would accept a media interview right during Chen Zihan's funeral. In the clan, scandals always drew the biggest crowd. By the day of the funeral, the area outside the hall was packed with reporters from the entire city. Each one stood ready, hoping to use sharp questions to drown me in the wave of public opinion. I looked at Chen Zihan lying peacefully inside the coffin and thought silently, "Make the noise as loud as possible. The bigger the better. Best if the whole world comes to watch this spectacle." On the morning of the funeral, a huge crowd arrived. Several Tang family nephews and my cousins also appeared. My cousin Tang Sen stepped forward. "My condolences, little sister." His voice sounded sympathetic, yet his eyes brimmed with mockery. "I told you long ago. What doesn't belong to you, don't fight for it. Now look, you've ended up widowed. Why wouldn't you listen to my advice?" I regarded him calmly. "Haven't you heard the saying? The one who laughs last is the true victor." Tang Sen snorted coldly. "I want to see how long you can keep that stubborn mouth of yours." I shook my head. So many years had passed and he was still the same, hot-tempered, shallow, no progress whatsoever, never accomplishing anything of substance. Wearing mourning clothes, my daughter and I stood before the memorial hall. Camera flashes exploded from every direction, so blinding it was almost impossible to open one's eyes. A reporter immediately asked, "Madam Tang, do you have anything to say about your husband?" "Mr. Chen Zihan had an affair with a female student who is currently pregnant." I put on a grief-stricken expression, gently dabbing the corners of my eyes with a handkerchief I had lightly treated with irritant. The effect was excellent. Tears immediately welled up. I choked out, "That's not true. My husband never had an affair. He has always been responsible toward the family." The reporters instantly bombarded me. "Madam Tang, you should think carefully before answering. We have photos of Mr. Chen entering and leaving the same building with Miss Jiang Yao." I had my answer prepared long ago. 15 years ago my husband and I established a scholarship fund for poor students from mountainous regions. Jiang Yao is one of the students we supported, and she is also my daughter's friend. It is perfectly normal for my husband to care about her. How could that be twisted into that kind of relationship? Perhaps everyone has misunderstood. One reporter laughed mockingly. But before the accident, Mr. Chen still went to see Miss Jiang Yao, calling it a harmless mentorship. Do you truly believe that? I looked straight at him with cold dignity, radiating the bearing of a proper wife. Why wouldn't I believe it? Should I distrust my own husband and instead believe your baseless guesses? I continued, "You claim that before he passed, my husband met Miss Jiang Yao. Today I have also invited her here. I believe she will give me a clear answer." The moment I finished speaking, my assistant helped Jiang Yao walk in. She held her pregnant belly, appearing frail and delicate. I reminded them, "Everyone, please turn off your flashes and be careful. She is pregnant." Then I passed her the microphone. "All right, you may ask." The reporters immediately fired questions in rapid succession. "Miss Jiang Yao, what exactly is your relationship with Mr. Chen? Why did he seek you out before his death? Does his death have any connection to you? Whose child is in your belly? Why did Mr. Chen take care of you and even rent a house for you?" Faced with the barrage, Jiang Yao instantly became flustered, her hands and feet awkward. I stepped to her side, gently patting her shoulder with a soothing voice. "Everyone, please ask one question at a time. Miss Jiang Yao is not used to the spotlight, so it's understandable she feels nervous." Then I leaned close and whispered so only the two of us could hear, "You know what to say, right? If this succeeds, I will definitely honor every promise I made." Jiang Yao nodded lightly, shrinking her body a little. She glanced around once, then began speaking exactly according to the script I had prepared. "I cannot say too much. If I reveal everything, I'm afraid even my own life will be difficult to protect." A reporter immediately pressed, "Does that mean Mr. Chen's death has hidden circumstances?" Jiang Yao hesitated briefly then answered, "I'm not entirely sure, But on the day of the accident he seemed to know in advance that danger awaited him. He came to find me, then left in great haste. So Miss Zhang Yao, the child in your belly is not Mr. Chen's. Zhang Yao glanced at me then shook her head. It is not. There is absolutely nothing between us. We have sources. Mr. Chen once brought you to the Tang family gathering and said he wanted the child entered into the Tang family register. Yet you claim the child is not his. Are you mocking us? I cut the reporter off. Which newspaper are you from? Everyone knows Chen Zihan married me 20 years ago. If the child in Miss Zhang Yao's belly were his illegitimate offspring, would he dare bring the child home? And even want to enter an illegitimate child into the Tang family register? Do you think we Tangs are fools? My ironclad rebuttal left the reporters exchanging glances, speechless at my logic. After a moment another reporter asked, then Miss Zhang Yao, why did you appear at the Tang family gathering? Zhang Yao bit her lip, hesitated, then said, it's because the father of the child in my belly is someone from the Tang family. After learning the truth, Mr. Chen brought me to the Tang house to acknowledge the ancestors and return to the clan. But who could have imagined? A collective gasp echoed through the room. The scene instantly erupted, discussions exploded everywhere. Miss Tang, please clarify. Who exactly in the Tang clan is it? Does Mr. Chen's death have any connection to that person? Who is the real father of the child? Miss Zhang Yao. Miss Zhang Yao. Zhang Yao shook her head repeatedly, her voice trembling. I cannot say it. Please stop asking. If I speak, I will not survive. The moment those words fell, every gaze turned toward our family members present. My cousin, Yaifeng, could no longer remain seated. What nonsense are you spouting? The child in your belly is clearly Chen Zihan's and has nothing to do with our clan. The fish had taken the bait. I wiped my tears with a handkerchief, my face a portrait of agony. My husband is already dead. Do you still want to slander him? Fine. I never imagined even my own flesh and blood would refuse to believe me. Today, I will speak plainly. My daughter immediately handed me a stack of documents. I extracted a medical report and spoke slowly. His death was too sudden and shrouded in suspicion. As a mother and daughter, we are already exhausted and did not wish to reopen these wounds. But since the press keeps pushing, I have no choice but to reveal the truth publicly. My late husband contracted an illness during the 2020 epidemic. During his treatment, a medication overdose severely impaired his sperm motility. According to his 2022 health examination, he had completely lost the ability to father children. Therefore, the child Miss Jiang is carrying absolutely cannot be his. The entire hall fell deathly silent. I lowered my head, a cold smile blooming in my heart. That health report, from the very beginning, I had kept it strictly hidden. At first, I did it solely out of consideration for him. For a man who daydreamed every day about having a son, learning he could no longer reproduce would have been a devastating blow he could never withstand. But I never expected he would secretly repay me with such a magnificent gift. If he knew the woman he had cherished with all his heart was carrying someone else's child, while he himself wore the greenest of hats, he would surely have gone mad. So dying was good. Once dead, everything became peaceful. Seeing everyone around stunned, I knew the moment had arrived. I grasped Zhang Yao's hand. Miss Zhang Yao, you cannot tell the reporters who harmed my husband, but at least you can tell me, right? I have the right to know the truth. She hesitated a moment, then leaned close to my ear and softly spoke a name. Blinding camera flashes kept exploding before my eyes. Upon hearing that name I nearly lost my footing, my face filled with shock and disbelief. I staggered a few steps then collapsed to the ground in a faint. The funeral ended in utter chaos. The overly dramatic broadcast clip instantly detonated discussions across the internet. Oh my god, I thought I came to watch the freeloader get his karma. Who knew I'd swallow a massive society melon instead? Who exactly is the baby's father? Was the freeloader's death an accident or murder? I thought guessing husbands in dramas was complicated enough. Who knew now I have to guess the baby daddy too? Honestly, this is even more gripping than any TV series. The wife fainted the moment she heard the name. Clearly that person was completely outside her expectations. If I speculate maliciously, perhaps Chen Zihan thought he held leverage over that person, brought the child to threaten him, and thus got silenced. In that case the child's father must be someone with real power, not some ordinary member of the Tang family. Can anyone pull up the family relation chart and analyze it? The funeral was originally organized by Tang Zong with the purpose of publicly pressuring me. He even invited numerous media outlets for live broadcasts. The moment the live stream ended, the content was sliced into short clips and spread everywhere. I lay on the bed at home, eating bird's nest soup while leisurely watching the online storm. My sister sat beside me and said softly, "You dumped this entire pot right onto Tang Zong's head. He only needs a DNA test to prove you're lying." I smiled faintly. Insert one lie among 10 truths and that lie becomes far more believable. Are you saying Tang Zong hasn't had any illegitimate children on the side all these years? Failing to produce one doesn't mean he never tried. Over the years I've gathered quite a bit of criminal evidence against Tang Zong, but his power is too great. Direct confrontation gives me no chance of victory. I can only stir the waters, letting everyone join the discussion, pushing the matter to its climax so he cannot suppress it. Only when the timing is ripe will I deliver the fatal strike. I turned and ordered my assistant, "All right, have our accounts launch the next wave." The assistant answered crisply. That night at exactly 1800, an account named, "The bigger the drama, the better," uploaded a video. The bigger the drama, the better. My friend's sister was at the funeral, standing very close and managed to record Tang Wei and Zhang Yao talking. Everyone try reading their lips. The post quickly shot to the top, drawing countless netizens. From the lip reading it looks like 2 characters of the Tang surname. First one starts with V. Someone pull up the Tang family tree and see who fits. Oh my god, could it be Tang Zong? Who is Tang Zong? Tang Zong is the current head of the Tang family. But that can't be. He's nearly 70. Haha, so what if he's nearly 70? Haven't you heard the older, the more playful? The internet exploded even harder. I ordered my assistant, call the platform and block the keyword Tang Zong. The assistant hesitated slightly. "Madam Tang, we just created the wave. Remember, if you want news to spread in the shortest time, the best way is to ban it." Understood, Madam Tang. Before long, netizens discovered that any post containing the keyword Tang Zong would be locked. Tang Zong blocked already. Not bad for a capitalist. Tang Zong and capitalists, they act exactly the same. How scary. I'm just saying, with the keyword getting blocked this fast, 9 times out of 10 it's true. Acting so quickly, truly old and lecherous. Blocking netizens' mouths. What's impressive about that? If you're so capable, stay clean yourself. Leaking a bit of info, that old man isn't doing it for the first time. At University S there are many female students who were victims. Rumor says he picks girls from several universities. A few years ago it was exposed but his power crushed it down. Disgusting. Treating human lives like grass. Has no one sued him? How could they sue? The Tang family values sons over daughters so much they don't even care about their own girls, let alone outsiders. Fun fact, the Tang company is famous for discriminating against female employees. The new graduate hiring ratio is 5-to-1. On average they hire 5 male fresh grads for every 1 female. And the pay gap between men and women is huge. Damn, this company is truly hateful. When the online heat reached its peak, Tang Zong called me. "Little Jiao, it seems my assistant earlier didn't convey my meaning correctly. Don't misunderstand. At this point, uncle, there's no need to pretend anymore. Now it's life, or death," he laughed. "The company shareholders and the clan elders all stand with me. Do you think this little ripple can accomplish anything? You have no path to victory left. Public opinion stands with me." "You mean the storm you created online? Child's play." I couldn't help laughing. The times have changed. Let's just wait and see. Without waiting for his reaction I hung up immediately. "Assistant, Madam Tang, the victims we found are still hesitant and unwilling to step forward. Hitting a snake requires striking the head. They fear retaliation. So what now? Without real victims we have no footing. Find someone to lead them so they feel safe. Contact Lin Shan. Tell her the time to repay her debt has come." Lin Shan was a second-tier female star in the entertainment circle, and my hidden chess piece. She had debuted through a talent show and signed with the Tang family's entertainment company. That year she had also caught Tang Zong's eye, but Lin Shan possessed a proud temperament and refused, nearly getting blacklisted. Back then I secretly helped her pay the enormous contract termination fee. I had supported her the entire long road, and naturally she had not let me down. Amid the encirclement of capital she carved out her own blood and tears path in the entertainment world. The first year after canceling her contract she switched to film. The second year she landed a supporting role that caused a sensation, steadily gaining a foothold until today. Currently she had millions of followers on W, and her loyal fanbase was enormous. If you asked which group possessed the strongest combat power online, the answer would definitely be the fandom. I turned and instructed my assistant. The other side will react quickly. Their lawyers will appear immediately. Tell Lin Shan to grasp the exact timing. Also, block the keyword Tang Zong, and let a few of our accounts explode. Create the effect that Tang Zong is trying to silence people. Understood, Madam Tang. That night at exactly 2 hours after the funeral ended, the keyword, Tang Zong, was suddenly banned. Just as public opinion was reaching its boiling point, the keyword vanished in an instant. Countless discussion threads were wiped clean. Netizens who had been stunned, realizing they were witnessing a colossal scandal, watched as the renowned entertainment actress Lin Shan suddenly posted a cryptic status update. Some truths cannot stay buried forever. It's simply that the time has not yet arrived. That single ambiguous line detonated her fandom like wildfire. The heat of public discourse surged to an even higher level. Fans flooded the comments in seconds. A sister talking about the trending topic on WBO right now. For any new fans who don't know, let me explain. When our darling first debuted, she signed with the Tang family's entertainment company. Later, because of certain matters, she had to terminate the contract and fought a 3-year lawsuit. Oh my God. Could that old man in the rumors have tried to impose the unspoken rules on our precious girl? Our baby must not be allowed to suffer any injustice. Let's go, everyone. The fandom mobilized as one, with the fierce spirit of, Wu can endure hardship, but our idol cannot. They threw themselves into battle. Big fans led the topics, small fans amplified the heat, and within moments the subject rocketed to the top of the trending charts. Half an hour later, Lin Shan deleted the post. While her fans were still dazed, the official account of the Tang family company issued a statement, an attorney's letter suing for defamation. Recently, our company has discovered numerous accounts fabricating and spreading false information about Mr. Tang Zong. We solemnly declare that all rumors concerning Mr. Tang Zong are entirely fabricated by marketing accounts. We demand these accounts delete their posts immediately, cease spreading misinformation, and urge netizens not to believe or forward these baseless rumors. Linking Lin Shan's deleted post with the lawyer's letter sent to Zhang Yao, both women connected to universities, one still a student, one already in the entertainment industry, and recalling the earlier leak about selecting female students from universities, the fans instantly concluded that Lin Shan had been forced to delete her statement. Their rage multiplied. They thought, when she was young and powerless, we couldn't protect her. Now that she's famous, must she still suffer? Exactly how famous does someone have to become before they can stop being bullied? The marketing accounts controlled by Tang Zong were no match for the battle, hardened fandom and the netizens' rebellious mood. Fans stormed every official Tang family account, and the accounts of students from multiple universities, declaring they would never bow to power and would defend their idol to the end. That very night, the hashtag #FeeTang family internal strife shot straight to #1. The timing was perfect. Lin Shan officially posted a long statement, joining forces with numerous victims to accuse Tang Zong of coercing them against their will. A complete chain of evidence was released, involving a staggering number of people, even 10 university students. Multiple university official accounts spoke out simultaneously, pledging to protect student rights and support the victims to the fullest. By this point, the storm of public opinion could no longer be contained. The city police were bombarded with calls demanding an investigation. The next day, the Public Security Bureau officially opened a case, and Tang Zong was taken in for questioning. The company's stock price plummeted for 3 straight days. Internal operations descended into chaos. Amid the turmoil, I led my daughter slowly to the cemetery. Mother and daughter lit incense and burned paper money before her tombstone. The photo of Mother on the stone still looked younger than I did now. Mom, your daughter is already 45 this year. From today onward, I am older than you ever were. Rest easy. I will walk every path you never got to finish. Those who harmed you, I will personally escort them down below to apologize at your feet. A gentle breeze swept past, like a sigh carried from afar. The paper money blazed brightly, flames swirling high into the air. The stock price continued its 3-day plunge. On the 4th day, I marched straight into the company with my people and stepped into the chairman's office. I instructed my assistant to call every shareholder one by one. Before long, they hurried in. The conference room door was shoved open. They saw me sitting in the center seat, smiling with polite grace. I rose slowly, looking down from above at the faces that had all changed color. Some delighted, some anxious. For example, right now my cousins were glaring at me with fury. I curled my lips in a faint smile. From today onward, I will temporarily assume the position of family head and take full responsibility for all company affairs. Tang Yifeng slammed the table and shot to his feet, striding right up to me. On what grounds? He may be absent, but there are still plenty of us here. What right do you have to take charge? Tang Zong schemed his whole life, yet he raised a bunch of brainless descendants. I withdrew my smile and slapped Tang Yefeng hard across the face. On the grounds that I can stabilize the situation, safeguard the century-old legacy of this family, and ensure no one's interests are harmed. If I am not qualified, then who is? You, a useless parasite who has never contributed anything to the clan or the company. He clutched his cheek, glanced at the bodyguards standing behind me, and didn't dare talk back. Why are you pretending to be the good guy? Wasn't it you who orchestrated his imprisonment? I laughed coldly. What are you talking about? Your uncle is old yet still doesn't know how to behave. He committed crimes with his own hands. Now you want to blame me. After those words, the entire conference room fell silent. I swept my gaze across every shareholder's face, reading the calculations and worriness in their eyes. Finally I spoke clearly. None of you should hope Tang Zong can return. What I hold in my hands is far more than what you've seen. If you want to go inside and keep him company, feel free to try. The next day, Tang Zong applied for medical bail on grounds of advanced age and frailty. The application had not even been approved when I submitted an accusation to the procuratorate, charging Tang Zong with plotting for profit and causing deaths. He was the one responsible for my mother's death and my husband's death. That accusation landed like a boulder into a stormy lake, instantly triggering violent shockwaves. Tang Zong was pushed into a corner with no retreat left. His bail request was rejected. Immediately afterward he suffered a heart attack from the shock and was hospitalized. At this time, influential voices on the internet began to see through the truth. They realized this was actually an internal power struggle within the Tang family. News of my mother's sudden death 20 years ago was dug up again. Madame Tang passed away too abruptly. She was practically a legend, yet even her own brother-in-law could bring himself to harm her. What a beast. 2 lives destroyed. In my opinion, Tang Wei, the one rising to power now, is no ordinary woman either. She endured silently for so many years, only revealing her true strength at the end. From the age of 20 she carried a sky-high grudge. A woman who could climb to this position inside a male-dominated clan, truly admirable. While the outside world still boiled with discussion, I went alone to the hospital to visit my uncle, who was tormented by nightmares. Because of overwhelming terror he had been admitted. He lay on the hospital bed, silent as a shadow. The moment he saw me, his face turned deathly pale, as if he were staring at a ghost. His eyes widened with pure horror. I smiled, pulled up a chair, picked up an apple, and began peeling it while chatting as casually as if I were paying a normal visit. Uncle, it's been a while. Haven't been sleeping well lately. His voice was hoarse. You poisoned me, didn't you? I burst out laughing. Of course not. Don't overthink it. There are so many police guarding you every day. How could I possibly make a move? Rest assured, I only made you dream a little more. I had no other choice. Since you refused to think while awake, I had to let you experience it in your dreams. The heart monitor beside him spiked wildly. Yet he still forced out the words, voice raspy. The biggest mistake of my life was underestimating you, letting you stir up such a massive storm. I took a bite of the apple. The sweetness spread across my tongue, truly worthy of such an expensive fruit. You didn't underestimate me. You underestimated the times. You stayed holed up in your house all day, stubbornly conservative, completely unaware of how the outside world had changed. The power of public opinion far exceeds anything you could imagine. I shook my head gently. Forget it. There's no point saying these things to you. You missed the reform and opening up era. You couldn't keep up with the internet explosion era either. You were always a fool who only knew how to scheme and stab people in the back. These past few years you appeared glorious, but you were merely squandering the empire my mother built. You couldn't beat my mother. Your son inherited your stupidity and couldn't beat me either. Your entire family is nothing but a bunch of idiots. Not only idiots. You are also ungrateful and treacherous. My mother cleaned up the mess you created and brought the Tang family to the scale it enjoys today. Yet you still harmed her. You deserve to die. His chest heaved violently as he gasped for breath. The Tang family should have belonged to me. She bribed that old monk, spouted nonsense about heaven's mandate belonging to women, and stole my rightful power. The more he spoke, the more agitated he became, his wrinkled face flushed crimson with rage. I only made one small mistake, yet father handed the entire estate to her. Father was biased. It's not my fault, it's not my fault. That small mistake cost your own sister her life, yet you call it small. Truly deserving of death. I took his hand, leaned close to his ear, and spoke softly. Uncle, that old monk was not wrong. Heaven's mandate truly belonged to my mother. Look at the situation now. Hasn't it already come true? Rest easy and go down below to meet my mother, then explain in detail why you harmed her. Oh, right. Don't forget the sister who had to pay for your small mistake with her life. And your own daughter too. There will be plenty of company down there, you won't feel lonely. His whole body trembled violently. I smiled again and continued. Don't worry. I've already chosen a beautiful spot for you right in front of my mother's grave, so she can watch you forever. All his life he had lived under my mother's shadow. The terror of her had been carved into his very bones. I believed this was the most fitting punishment for him. Tang Zong did not live to see his trial. He died right there in the hospital. On behalf of the Tang family and as a victim myself, I publicly condemned Tang Zong's actions and provided maximum compensation to every victim. As for Zhang Yao, I never asked who the real father of the child in her belly was. Exactly as we had agreed, I gave her a substantial sum of money. Whether she kept the baby or not was entirely her decision. For the girls Tang Zong had harmed, besides compensation, I offered them employment opportunities. As long as they wished, they could all join Tang Corporation. Money would eventually run out, but a stable job would become a lasting source of confidence for each of them. Afterward, I established a women's support fund. The fund specialized in helping underprivileged female students continue their education, find employment, promote gender equality in the workplace, and gradually eliminate discrimination on the job. At the same time, I invited outstanding female experts from various fields to supervise the fund's usage. You did it beautifully, never once mentioning Tang Zong's name, yet you nailed him to the pillar of eternal shame. Truly masterful. My sister took a sip of tea and spoke to me slowly. I smiled. Sister rarely praises me like this. Really? She looked at me with gentle eyes. Actually, in my heart I have praised you countless times. I paused. She continued softly, I have always been proud of you. Sunlight sparkled outside the window, steam from the tea rose gently, and the corners of my eyes suddenly stung. My sister's smile reminded me of that noon 20 years ago, when she was married off. At that time I hid behind the ancestral hall door, watching her kneel before Tang Zong, sobbing as she said, Eldest uncle, I agree to marry into the He family for the alliance. I will agree to whatever you want. Only please spare Shui so she can live a peaceful life. Tang Zong answered coldly, the He family boy has taken a fancy to you. That is your blessing. Since you were born into the Tang family, you must obey the Tang family's rules. You have no right to bargain. My sister bit her lip, voice trembling. If uncle refuses, today I will smash my head and die right here, so they can carry my corpse straight to the He family. With those words, she really slammed her head against the ancestral pillar. Blood immediately poured down her forehead. You insolent girl. That afternoon, from behind the door, I watched my blood-covered sister and swore silently in my heart that one day I would take revenge. That day had finally arrived. In December of that year, I officially became chairman of Tang Corporation. The first thing I did after taking office was abolish the rule forbidding women of the clan from joining the company. From then on, the younger female cousins in the family entered the company one after another. They cherished this hard-won opportunity deeply. Each one worked diligently, seriously, and eagerly, quickly establishing themselves within the company. At the same time, they also learned how to compete and fight in the workplace. Once I called them into my office after hearing they had fought tooth and nail over the position of business department head. Blood and tears spilled in the struggle. What happened? One bold cousin raised her head and answered, because the business department head is the only executive position available to women. I tapped the tabletop lightly. In the entire company, the proportion of female leaders is still under 5%. No matter how fiercely you fight among yourselves, you're only fighting over that 5%. Meanwhile, men hold 95%. The real power is in their hands. Yet you girls are fighting each other over a few measly crumbs. Opportunities will always be limited. If you truly have ability, compete with the men, seize real power, and raise the percentage of female leaders higher. That is what you should be doing. Their eyes looked at me with open admiration. I had already reserved several overseas study slots. Anyone who wants to go, submit your application to the company. Yes, Chairman Tang. I loved the way they called me Chairman Tang instead of aunt or cousin. That title not only reflected my position in the company, but also reflected their own value. In the past, the clan had been like the company. Men were heaven, lofty beings who bestowed favor from above. One stomp of their foot was enough to make others bow. We women could only wait for whatever scraps they deigned to give us in order to survive. But now it was different. We women had become the ones holding the bowl. Change had to begin with small steps. Yet we already had a beautiful start. From now on, the bowl in our hands would be held steadier and steadier, and the road ahead would stretch longer and longer. The following May, I saw my daughter off to study abroad. Quite a few others went with her, all carefully chosen by me. My sister watched the group and asked, "You only needed to send Muir abroad. Why let those boys from the family go along too? They look rather sharp." I smiled. "So they can fight each other." In the clan, the family head position has always been contested among siblings. If she can't even defeat a few cousins, how can she become the true head? My sister looked at me for a long moment. "You really intend to let Muir become family head?" "Of course. If she has the ability, I have no problem letting her try. This is the best era. The era that creates heroes. 3 generations of our family, from my mother to me, then to my daughter, have struggled for half a century for exactly this goal. The tide of women's awakening is sweeping across society. 20 years ago I once lamented that people's hearts are thinner than paper. Now the world is like a chessboard. Each new game reveals an entirely fresh situation. Ahead of us, the sun is slowly rising.